So you see a 5'10" high elf, more specifically moon elf. Her clothing is dark and colored, kind of good for sleuthing around in the darkness, but as she kind of pulls back her hood, you see dark black tinted blue, almost like midnight color, braided hair filled with vines and leaves, and almost seemingly more pale than she should be. In all my years of life as an elf, not quite seeing a town ever disappear. Again, probably just as shell-shocked as everyone else looking around, and as elegantly and tastefully put together that her clothing is, finely tailored. In this moment almost looks disheveled and unsure what to do with the situation.
Yeah, I think she's just kind of taking things in, not super chatty, kind of just letting everybody, just kind of absorbing what's going on and all the goings on of the last little bit. And yeah, not a whole lot today. Alina's dozy.
I can definitely, I think, feel a bond with Mahkah and the fact of like the nature piece, because so much of her life has been revolved around the moon and her sister and how those transformations were like her piece to her. So not having that would be very strange, a very odd adaptation being down here. And then just the overall, like, not thinking that like undead piece of things is very unnatural for elves, very like uncomfortable, because it's like undead is just not natural. We're meant to like die, move on, and then come back into a different state. So just never dying and being undead is very strange and uncomfortable. But also she lives for those experiences that like her past lives would never experience, and that is we've never been to hell. So experiencing that is like, it's like a mixed emotions of like, I don't want to be here, but this is something that's so fascinating and so different. And then with people who are not elves and mortal, kind of that same piece of like, it's an unnatural allies, but finding herself coming close, like being close in bond with them and being like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And then having that, that mixed, like where it is trying to find her footing of being comfortable and then worrying about Elturel and actually caring about the mortals in it and coming to terms with being more than just that elf nature. Yeah.
I guess you take it similar to Mahkah as what's the words, that you sort of rely on the moon, like you know it's going to be there. You take it for granted every day that there's going to be a moon at night, but now that's not there.
Yeah, and being a moon elf, that's like, it's built into like her core of like, it's her, like when you look at her, it's the pale dark, like the pale skin, dark blue like hair, like it's just her. So it's very odd. I don't know how she's gonna go back to normal life, sewing and tailoring after so much excitement, to be honest, and kind of excited to be able to explore her new friendships, but also the new connection with her sister and what kind of progress and different things that could bring. And didn't think, being an elf and the kind of culture they are, she'd actually get close to, a turtle and a rat and an old lady and like, Kensei, well, we don't know how we feel about Kensei, but you know, he's all right, I guess. I've slowly warmed up to him. But yeah, I'm speechless. I think the first thing I'd probably do is eat a ration and be like, okay, good. Just wanted to check to make sure we're actually back. Just yep. And then be like, I think that we probably have more journeys to save some turtles and change some more lives. I think that's always a possibility, but in the meantime, I think I might take up drinking.
I think Ethel looks shockingly put together for the situation. She's been a librarian for forever, so she's like it's like very professional, walking right towards this caravan and like furiously taking down notes because she knows that at some point this will be important in history. But I think you can probably tell that she's still pretty shaken and does not know what the hell is going on.
I think Ethel is attuning to her new gloves, and I think she's like looking around at this party, and she's like, they all are so dangerous, and Ethel is going to be dangerous. She's going to grab things out of the air and stuff like that, and collect scimitars. I think there's a big focus on if she wants to be able to help the people she wants to help, she has to maybe be a little stronger than she is now, and so she's gonna look at these gloves. Just, I don't know, stare at them in the darkness until she's like, I understand. I understand how to catch things now.
I think Ethel's still thinking about Maud a lot. Especially because she, escaped on a flaming horse? Is that what happened?
Yep.
To Sky, a dramatic exit. And it's this odd thing. She still really wants to help, but kind of ironically, she's choosing to help the many over going and just trying to do something for Maud, which is exactly the same choice that Maud thinks she's making. Which is very weird, very utilitarian. And so I think she's just kind of throwing herself a little bit into recording this whole journey as like a, what she originally said, like, an academic explanation of Avernus. And it's probably a little frantic and probably not very well done, because it's a pretty good distraction. And probably getting on Mahkah a little bit to be like, and so if you could just make a map that would be like, actually, they could go together so well.
One step ahead of you. I've already got the parchment out.
I think Ethel is probably talking with Maud. She's probably pretty excited just to be like, and this is the tiny hut. And then if you look, and then just like showing her like different spells and different parts of like this paper that she's writing about Avernus. And in my mind, their relationship is that Maud is politely listening, but is absolutely not interested at all, but is also still dying a little bit, so won't protest.
It's like, yes,
this has been
very nice.
Yeah. And then if you flick your wrist like this, you can plane shift. But I think this has been a weird day because I did make an oath, or some level of oath, to Lathander earlier, which I think is making her reconsider some of her, I want to say, bad academic goals, like not just sharing this information, but also rubbing it in the face of Mildred. And also, like, this new goal has been presented to her, which is that Maud is undead, and that there is a huge risk to fighting Zariel, because it could fully end whatever animation is keeping her alive as well. And I don't know if Ethel knows how to fix that. So I think she's probably trying to seem lighthearted, because obviously her relationship with Maud is not going swimmingly. It's better than it was like 2 hours ago, but not perfect. So keeping it lighthearted, but also kind of panicking and like looking through this book at all her notes and being like, and you can release a soul from like a contract, and then maybe you could get it back. I think on page 78 right here, we talked to someone who knows how to resurrect souls, but that's not relevant to our conversation. Gosh, I think Ethel might immediately be on to the next task. Like, she's like, cool, we're back, we did it. She calls Silvera, she's like, we're back. And then she's like, Maud, all right, listen, I feel like we can figure out what to do about that. And then she's like, we still have to go get Belle. We have that on the list. There's a few other things. We definitely released Tiamat. It wasn't good. I have this paper to publish. Like, she's like already making calls.
Typical academic.
Yeah, she's ready. She's ready to go for the 10 years of her life that she has left.
So you see scurrying forth towards you this 3-foot-high rat folk with dark, rather luxuriously sleek-looking fur, but you can see that his skin underneath has gone very pale. He's completely shocked and horrified by the violent disappearance of this city, and he looks like he's dressed very, very finely in like lovely silk and gold thread, and he carries with him a lovely lute as well that makes music. Okay, so Jean-Maman is gonna play a little song about his love itself, love for small creatures, and love for Maribel. And he's just saying a little more patience, and we'll see her again. I'll see her again. And then he's gonna look at Clancy and wonder what to do. He might turn to Ethel and be like, "Oh, Ethel, look at my boy Clancy. He's growing up, and I don't know what to do with him. Oh, my. Ethel, you are wise. You have seen the world. What would you do?"
Well, I thought stand-up comedian was a really good idea.
Oh, thank you. But no, Clancy is not cut out for a life of talking.
The life of talking is such a funny phrase. You just mean talking at all.
Clancy's studying to be a psychiatrist.
He's a good listener.
I think Ethel, like, very seriously turns to Jean Lemore and is like, have you asked Clancy? Sometimes you have to let people grow up.
Oh. You're right. Very wise. Jean might just be sitting next to Mahkah and might ask him about, like, "Oh, Mahkah, my friend, I've noticed you've become very into Tom, religiously so. I know he is, like, given us some commands, but you've really taken him upon yourself. Why is this? What do you see in him?"
I think it's one of those things, JL, that you didn't know you were supposed to find until it sort of appeared in front of you, and then
yes,
clicked in, and you sort of have a clearer direction and a purpose and the timing of it.
Oh, I know what you mean precisely. It is like when I first met Maribel. Oh, it was love. I understand now.
Yes, JL, we'll find Maribel as well.
Yes. I hope
We have
so.
hope.
I hope so. Jail's gonna check in with Kensei, make sure the fall wasn't too traumatic. Is you okay? Is you sure?
Let's not do that again. We didn't.
Okay. And maybe if Mahkah has talked about his missing the moon, Gel will bring out an old classic that he wrote once about, how beautiful the moon looks and how much it reminds him of his lovely Maribel. And he is so determined to find her in these plains, no matter how huge and terrifying they seem. And also to save Elturel, because otherwise they wouldn't have a nice home to go back to. So, yeah. Jean Moore he's had a bit of a rough time. He's gone through quite a terrible depression after the fight of Ascentus and losing Maribel, and he was feeling very hateful and evil for a while, hence the Eldritch Blast. But looking at Maud and Ethel reconnecting and seeing that rather genuine, perhaps, looking sibling love, he feels like kind of encouraged that maybe there's a way to convince Zariel. Yeah, and that could be a way to resolve things. Gilmore is touching the ground, smelling the air, being like, oh my god. And he's like, nods at Mahkah, like, yeah, I definitely need a moment. And I think I need to spread some love and joy, because that is what is important in life, really. And it would be an honor to do so with these fine folks here.
All right. So walking in, very perturbed and very confusingly, kind of like walking up as this like pale tiefling, about rather tall for someone of his race, very muscular, about like high 6 feet, low 7 feet tall, wearing very loose clothing around his like upper torso and legs, but underneath appears to have some chainmail and some armaments around him, just sort of walking around, kind of like perturbed and mumbling about something, trying to look under like scraps and bricks houses and go, and they took the damn rum too, the bastards.
Definitely partaking of the wine, definitely partaking in the cheers, definitely partaking in the liveliness of conversations. And maybe telling like a few kind of like comical stories that happen on ship, on travel. Just kind of like, just to continue with this like cheery atmosphere, but definitely after like when we start doing watches and stuff for the night and kind of like gets some time to alone, he definitely kind of like looks at the shield and like takes it up and like looks at this like like scary visage and just goes like, so what exactly did you do to our captain friend? Just like starts to have a conversation of like, what did you do? During these rainy seasons, Kenway is actually seeming like to be like enjoying this like nasty weather, and he kind of like takes it back to like, it reminds him back in the harsh sea days where he kind of like had the control of the mast of the ship before it takes the control away from you, and he's just kind of having this seems like heavy fuss, fondly remembering these things as he's aiding with the leading the horse and carriage on these nasty weather.
It's been one hell of a ride, and it's like with the events that unfold with like gender censored, actually kind of like sit with them strangely more than he thought he would. Like it's sort of like amusing to him that he had to go to hell to make this sinner sort of like repent a little bit, maybe turning him into a saint if it actually like unfurls the way he thinks it would. But it's just, I don't know, he didn't think he would, it's sort of like the thing of like, I didn't think I would make it this far. Like getting out of Avernus, and more specifically, onto the plains of like the first layer of hell. Like, at least this quickly in his mind. Thought it would take a lot longer to do so.
So he's definitely much in like jovial spirits as of late, and is just sort of like in a very like upbeat mood, even with everything sort of like going on, because he has indeed like he has freed his crew. There's a chance that he might be able to actually send him into Terrell before it's like get like sent off somewhere, hopefully, because of the lowered state of it as it in. Maybe if we can find a way that hopefully the lava river that was sort of like around in El Terrell's like harbor is like now gone. It's just happy, weirdly happy. I can't explain it. It's just weirdly in a just upbeat mood.
I think I might stick around. The time of mourning and rebuilding will come. But first, I'm with JL, and I'm also kind of with Alina on this. We need to celebrate! We need to party! The grand victory that we unfolded! Finally, we can drink without hesitation!
So, in front of you, Mahkah approaches a young turtle, very instinct hands. So he was in the middle of, he was in the middle of documenting the topography of the surrounding area, and he realized, oh well, it looks like he has to make a big amendment on his plans and drawings. He's just in, excuse the pun, he's actually shell-shocked how something so like vast and large just disappeared. He makes his way confused to the other survivors, just looking for some refuge. Okay, I think that's a nice night. I'm assuming that the moon's visible as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So Mahkah will be, if you haven't noticed, he is Circle of the Moon Druid. So he'll be actually, no, I'll just for other plays. So he'll be actually, he's in his like element at the time. Like this is the time where he finds himself. So he's pondering about what he's come across, the notes, the maps. You know, he's been looking for he's been looking for his home, and he's just he's not on edge, but he's just like, this is the closest he's been for a long time, and he gets this feeling that things are starting to look up for him. And also while doing that, he will also have his newly acquired moon, his scimitar, was it
moon touch scimitar?
Yeah, moon touch scimitar, and attuning to that with his ruby of what's it called? Jeez, I know all this down. The War Mage ruby, yeah. So he'll be combining those two, his War Mage, because with the War Mage, I'll just explain to the other players, you can actually embed that into a weapon, and that will become his focus. So that's what he's working on under the moon. So it's his like backup focus when casting spells. Mahkah hasn't actually left Mahkah's mind. It's been playing on the back of his mind for quite some time. It was just the distraction of how Terrell, that his race is still being tortured somewhere and being harvested. It sort of never really left him, but just masked with other issues. So that's been playing up on him. And I would say if he feels uneasy, not really able to have that correlation with nature and the moon that he has a bond with. So that's starting to, I believe, he's sort of like missing it and missing that connection. But he knows what he has to sacrifice to save or to help his race at Alterel. So that's outweighing that as well. So he's probably just sitting to himself and just like contemplating those ideas and his next steps.
Mahkah would be sitting there with his map, looking at his map that he's been working on with a pen, but it's actually more of a distraction. He's sort of hiding he's looking at his map but working, but he's not focusing actually on his map. He's more thinking about his time he's spent trying to find his like heritage and family, and then he's sort of coming to the realization that by trying to find his family, he actually found these other companions, which have been the closest thing he's had to a family, and he's just contemplating that and thinking about that. And I would say probably just being in Alterel for so long, it's just taken this toll. And if that would ever, there'll always be like a sort of like a shadowy something that's like that he will never let go of, that he'll carry on with him. And I think what brings him comfort is freeing the turtles at the compound so long ago, that some of his kind will actually find that life and continue, even though he came to Alterel to put an end to this harvesting, which never was resolved at this stage. So he's just in shock. We've been in Avernus for so long, just hearing the sounds of nature. I think he just collapses, really. To his knees, in a good way. And what does he do? I think he really needs to take a moment. I guess one of those things he was looking for, he actually found with his friends, which is family now. Yeah.